I want to rotate around here a little bit so we can see our nozzle and our suction header here. Now the first thing I want to do in this case, I've got a butterfly valve that's going to be right off of this nozzle, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of that from the spec view palette. We'll put our butterfly valve in right on the node. Again, our gaskets and bolts went in automatically. Then all I need to do is select this piece of pipe, hit the plus grip to add my branch connection in there. It's looking for me to align it, so I'm going to align it with the end point of this butterfly valve. And then it asks for the rotation of the T, so I'm going to pick this direction towards the vessel and then use the connect option to connect up to the end point on this butterfly valve. This time I'll look at the line options again, and I'll select the red line instead of rolling the T 45 degrees and putting a 45, which is one of my options, and then enter twice to get out of the command. I'm going to rotate around to this side of the skid, and we're going to run a line out of this nozzle. We're going to come over in line with this wide flange, right down the center of this wide flange, and come over to the edge of skid on the back of skid, using a 15-inch bottom of pipe elevation for this line, so we can support it off that skid and get it up off the skid a little bit. So the first thing again I'm going to do is select the line number I want to use from my process drawing list, and I'm going to use this 8-inch ASD 614. Now off of this nozzle, since it's just going to be a flange and an elbow, I can actually just start routing pipe right off of this, and the system's automatically going to place my flange and bolts and gaskets for me. Now I'm going to use some AutoCAD functions to tell the system where I actually want this to go. I'll use a point filter. We're going in the Y direction, so I'm just going to use a point Y of, then I'm going to select the center line of this wide flange, and then it asks me for X and Z, which are not going to change, so I'm just going to pick a point in space here to keep them the same. And now my pipe is going right to the center of that wide flange. Next I'm going to use another option at the command line for routing pipe, the elevation option. Alright, now before I actually tell it the elevation, my system is set to route center line elevation, so I'm going to change the alignment to bottom of pipe here, and now I can tell it 15 inches, and I'm running my 8-inch pipe at 15-inch BOP above the top of the steel, which is at 0 elevation. Then I'm going to use another point filter here, the point X, since we're going in the X direction, and I'm going to use the point X of the end point of this center line, which should be pretty easy to hit. Y and Z don't change, so again I pick a point in space and hit enter. Now I've told the system very easily that I want that pipe to finish right at the edge of skid. By doing that, I can just select the valve I want at this edge of skid. We're going to have a flanged globe valve at the edge of skid, so I'm going to grab my globe valve, just hit a near O snap on the pipe. That enables me to slide it down any section of the pipe, or any point on the pipe that I want. I'm going to slide it to the end. I get my bolts, flange, and gasket here, and my face of flange on my 8-inch globe valve is right at the edge of skid. Okay. Now this points out a nice function of CADWorx. I'm just going to insert a valve here to show you some of the routing capabilities or positioning capabilities within CADWorx. We'll just select another globe valve here, for example, or a ball valve's fine. I'm going to put a ball valve here on the same line. Now you notice I get a dimension from one end of the pipe to the first face of flange. If I wanted this dimension to go to the center of the valve or the other flange, I can change this by hitting the insertion justification up here on the command line. So you'll note that it moved to the center of the valve, and I hit it again, it moves to the other face of flange, and hit it again back to the original face of flange. Or if I wanted to go from the other end of the pipe, I could select pipe endpoint distance from the command line, and it toggles me to the other end of the pipe, and then I could change the justification. Or maybe more commonly, I might, instead of going to the end of the pipe, I may want to go to the corner of this elbow, for example. So I could use a component distance, select a component, and depending on the component, I may get a couple of options on where I could dimension from that component. In the case of an elbow, the default is the corner, or then it would toggle next. If I hit enter, I would toggle to the butt weld connection, or if I hit the point to toggle. If I hit enter, it accepts the one that's selected, which is a corner, which would probably be the one I'd want in this case. And then I can actually dimension to the face of flange from the corner of the elbow, or the center line of that riser pipe, of course. Okay. Now if I wanted it fitting makeup, I can just slide it down here to the end of the elbow, and I'm good to go. Now if I want to move this, I can actually grab this grip, and I've got my same options on locating. I could even pop it up here into the vertical run and put it fitting makeup off of this elbow. Really quick and easy to change and move things around and locate them the way you want them. I believe this is really the reason CADWorx Plant Professional is the #1 AutoCAD based plant design software in the world today. This quick and easy capability of making changes. Modeling is not that difficult in most systems, but making changes to the model can become quite cumbersome in a lot of the systems. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that flange ball valve too, by the way. So make sure I leave my elbow. And one of the rules I had turned on was for it to heal the pipe. So when I erase that valve, you notice the pipe healed back up to the elbow automatically. Alright, let's put a control loop in here. I'm going to go to a back view so you can see this, and what I want to do is set my size down to 6 inch because my control valve is going to be one size smaller than this 8-inch line. And then I'll select a control valve from my menu here. I'm just going to insert it on this line, and I'm not going to really worry about the location. I'm just going to give myself plenty of space to put my block valves and everything in. And you'll note that the system says, hey, wait a minute, you're set to 6, it's 8-inch. Did you really want an 8-inch valve? No, I want a 6-inch valve, so I'm going to keep my current size. And this says, okay, well, if you're going to do that, you need a reducer on this end, which one you want to use. And you will also need a reducer on this end. So I select my reducers. Now I've got my 6-inch control valve in my 8-inch line. Come back and put in my block valves. Let's just use a ball valve here for block valves, and I'm going to slide them down fitting makeup. Now that I'm set to 6-inch, it's going to say, hey, which size do you want? I actually in this case want the selected pipe size. Return to repeat the command, slide it down against this reducer, use the selected pipe size, and I've got my block valves in. Alright, now one thing I'm going to do here is go ahead and put my TopWorx in. You may note that we haven't been putting TopWorx in with the valves. CADWorx Plant Professional does allow for that. If you go into the specification editor, if we take a look at the spec we're working with here, the CL150 spec, and go take a look at our valves, collapse all of these, take a look at the valve section. For example, the ball valve we've been working with, the flange ball valve. You'll note that for the ball valves, or the valves in the CADWorx system, we can specify TopWorx at the spec level to go in when the valve is inserted. These are completely user customizable. There's a large library of TopWorx that come with the product, but You don't have to specify it at the spec level. If you don't, you can always come back to the CADWorx model and go select the valves. Now, if you select multiple valves, you have to remember the order you selected them in, because it's going to ask you for the TopWorx for each valve in that same order. So the first one is my ball valve, my block valve on that end, so I'm going to use a lever for this, and I'm going to orient it going up and to the left. The second one is my control valve, so I'll select an actuator for it, and then the third is the other block valve, so I'm going to go up and to the right with that one. One reason I wanted to do this is so I can make sure I've got clearance, like for this saddle, and that my lever doesn't hit the standpipe, etc. So